welcome to Fooch Rant on Reels. How you doing, Xavier?
Doing pretty good. Loving life, living life.
Oh, it's very good to hear. You have a good week?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Up until my fantasy team just decided not to play properly.
Let's not talk football. I don't want to talk about it. Patriots lost. My fantasy teams are garbage. I don't want to. Is it
It's
the Super
over.
Bowl yet?
Yeah, football season. On to the next season.
Yeah. So is that it? That's all that's up this week for you? Just football?
Yeah, football. And yeah, I've been very lazy. I've been a hermit this year, this week. Just refusing to leave my house and just skip the dishes and stuff like that.
Nice. I gotta be honest. I'm a little nervous.
Why is that?
Well, you know how like in sports, you sometimes you have an easy game and you're just looking forward to the next game.
Yeah.
I feel like Aquaman and Bumblebee are right there, and I feel like this show I'm not there for it. I'm looking ahead.
Oh man, I'm excited for Bumblebee and Aquaman. I think maybe this could be the turnaround, like the comeback
For both those
DC
franchises.
and for both the franchises.
Well, I'm not holding my breath, but we can see. But let's focus on this week. Four movies came out this week in theaters. Spider-Man, Mortal Engines, The Mule, and Deadpool, or Once Upon a Deadpool. I only got to see 3 this week. It was a busy week for me.
Yeah, well, I saw 2 with you, so it was pretty busy for me as well. Even in hermit mode, I was able to come out of my house and
Thanks to
watch
me.
a movie. So
I do want to say, like, I got my Fitbit back, so that's really good. It broke, and then like I called Fitbit. 3 days later, I have a new Fitbit. They were really great, no questions asked. It was fantastic.
why do you have that?
I keep track of your steps, keep track of your sleep. It's fantastic. I would recommend everyone get a Fitbit for many reasons.
Being fit is overrated. Just eat all the pies and chickens and fried things you want in the world.
But I'm all with you, and like think of it like this: if you want like 2 slices of pie, then go for an extra like 200 steps.
Fair enough. Okay.
We have some good news for all of our listeners who do not like listening to 3-hour videos.
What's the news?
Oh, I thought you were going to tell everyone. You were all excited about it.
Okay. You know what the news is? We on iTunes. So all you have to do is search for us, Rant on Reels, and you can listen to us now instead of watching hour and a half long video and wasting your data on cell phones. You can listen to us on your commutes by just subscribing, downloading to each episode, and then you just get to enjoy us that way.
It's so easy a dinosaur like me could do it.
Yeah, and this guy can't even post a photo on Instagram, so...
Hey. I got better. I did it on all by myself this time.
That's a lie. I was right beside you.
Speaking of Instagram, can I tell you something?
What?
So I got Instagram so I could take pictures of the movies I was going to see and post and be like, I'm going to see this movie. Guess what I didn't do for the 3 movies I saw in theaters this week?
You did not post that.
Not even one of them.
Yeah. I'm going to hold, next time we go, I'm going to hold you and make sure you remember to take that photo.
You came to see 2 of them with me. Where was your help on those?
I forgot that you were going to do that, and that's your fault. But now I know, so I have to remind you.
So a couple of interesting things came out in the movie world this week. One thing that really caught my eye, did you read the article about James Bond?
Yeah, how he's an alcoholic and he drank enough, in Quantum of Solace, he drank enough alcohol to kill a man.
Are you a Bond fan?
Yeah, I'm a Bond fan.
How many of the 4 now movies have you seen?
I've seen a lot of the Sean Connery ones and all the Pierce Brosnan and one Roger Moore one, and then I've seen a bunch.
Roger Moore's great. I've seen them all. I don't know if I'd call him an alcoholic. I mean, does he like to drink? Yes.
Well, his job's pretty hard, like he has to kill a bunch of people and carry the weight of British intelligence on his soldiers, so... let the man have a couple drinks,
Well, I feel like in every movie I've seen, I've never seen him drunk.
Yeah.
Maybe in the Daniel Craig ones, maybe a little bit, but those are not my favorite anyway.
See, maybe the director was drunk filming.
Maybe.
Shots fired. One thing is, they say that he drank enough alcohol to kill a man, but how long, I'm trying to remember Quantum of Solace because I don't have it fully in my head, but was that all in the course of one day, or was it
I'm not gonna lie to you. That is I think by far the worst James Bond movie ever made. I think most people, it's very low on most people's list. So I actually have only seen it once, and I haven't. I think it's like isn't that the one that they say compares to the Bourne Ultimatum with all the scenes being very similar?
Yeah, that's the one where they got heavy. Like Bond's always an influence of whatever is popular at that time.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't remember, but maybe take place over like 3 days.
Yeah, I guess. Who knows?
I
don't see how.
I just don't remember him.
I have to
drinking
pay
that much.
attention and watch the facts on that.
So the first movie we want to chat about is Deadpool.
Yes. Once Upon a Deadpool.
Once Upon a Deadpool. So I gotta be honest, I loved it, and I recommend everyone to go see this movie because it was fantastic.
Now I've seen Deadpool 2. What's the major differences between the two?
Okay, so at this point, we're gonna warn you that we're in spoiler mode. So everything we're about to say, there's going to be spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled on any of these movies, this is the part where you turn it off until you see the movie.
Yes, so Deadpool 2, Once Upon a Deadpool, Mortar Engines, I can't speak
The
right
Mule?
now, The Mule, spoilers for each, and possible spoilers for other movies, so like say maybe the first Deadpool,
Yes,
and
definitely.
stuff like that, so keep in mind, spoilers for everything.
So this is like the way they kind of contrive this movie is it's the same movie except for it's PG. So the first question that you have is what's different? Like why should I go see it if I've already seen it and now you're going to make it PG? Who cares? Well, let me tell you. I would say they added about 30% new material into this movie.
Okay.
So you know how like the movie begins with like the F Wolverine kind of way to start it? And,
Yeah.
You know, we'll call this a PG podcast. Well, they scrapped that. They scrapped all of that, and they started.
Does he blow up and he's all bloody? Is there lots of blood
No,
anymore?
there's a little bit, but not a lot.
Okay.
So basically, how the movie starts is Deadpool sitting in a room, and the room is the room from The Princess Bride. So if you've ever seen Princess Bride, or it's in your like a movie that you really enjoy, this is Deadpool 2 you'll love. So what they've kind of done is Deadpool has stolen Fred Savage, adult Fred Savage, tied him to the bed, and he kind of wakes up and he's holding this storybook. But instead of The Princess Bride, it's Once Upon a Deadpool. Deadpool 2. So he wakes up and he sees Deadpool, and there's some banter. Fred Savage calls out Deadpool saying, like, you're not Marvel. And Deadpool's like, actually, we are. We were bought by Marvel now.
Okay, so they brought that in. I love the pop culture references.
Oh, yeah. And then it starts just like the other one. He calls it it's a family story. It starts in the warehouse. We go back to Vanessa. Vanessa is killed. And throughout the entire movie, they keep going back to like the Princess Bride set, right? Fred Savage and Deadpool communicating with each other. They've extended scenes. They've changed scenes. They've done a really good job in keeping it a little bit different, but keeping the essence the same. Like, it's the same movie, but I thought it was hilarious. And when asked by like some of my buddies which one did I like more, I had to think about it for a while. Like, I would go with the original Deadpool too, but it complements it. It's well. Different enough and humorous enough on its own right that it gets, you know, it's funny. I think one of the funniest things in the movie is there's a lot of swearing in the movie, but Deadpool is holding like a beeper, so every time that he swears he beeps himself. So it's in the movie, it's just a little bit different.
That sounds great. Classic. And
they just like it's all there. There's a scene when he's trying to get onto the truck with where Cable is trying to kill the kid, and he falls onto the road, and the police car hits him, and then he puts his hand there and it shoots him in the hand, and in the actual movie there's a hole in the hand. Yeah. But in the PG movie, it's just he got shot in the hand, and it's like he had some kind of metal there to protect his hand, and the movie continues. So it's just not gory and not bloody, but the essence of the movie, what they did to take out the swearing and put in like PG things, I thought it was hilarious.
That's great. Very proud. You know, if there's one thing Fox has done well, it's the Deadpool movies.
Oh yes.
I feel they've done that character to a T. I'm not the biggest Deadpool fan out there for comic books, but I find I really like what they're doing with Deadpool.
It's brilliant and it's funny. It's different. It's been great that they've kind of kept it out of the universe because
Yeah.
I don't think the tone works very well with Fox because Fox is kind of doing the DC thing and going really
Yeah.
really dark, whereas Deadpool can't be that way because it wouldn't work. If you make Deadpool dark, it would be like a psychopath.
Yeah. Psycho serial killer.
Yeah, exactly. But it works because the tone is very humorous. It doesn't take it. The movie doesn't take itself seriously. Like the Basic Instinct scene where he's like a baby and he kind of like.
Yeah.
Well, they still have that in there exactly like it is, except for all they do is they blur it out. It's actually in some ways it's more funny because now that they're not even hiding it. It's like this is what we're doing. We're gonna show his penis right out for the world to see, except for we're gonna blur it out. We all know what's going on.
I have to see. Maybe I'm gonna go see this movie. I thought it was like, oh, it's just a PG, whatever. But they actually put in an effort.
They did. They put in, I would say, a lot of effort, and even some of the sequences, like when he's being trained for the X-Men, they have training sequences in there. They, you know how, what's his face? Colossus gives the rules.
Yeah.
You remember the rules?
Mm-hmm.
The first rule is you don't kill. Remember the second rule?
I forget.
It has to do with in the refrigerator, right? Making sure you don't eat anyone else's stuff from the refrigerator.
Oh, okay.
So, or label everything in the refrigerator. That's what it is. So there's a scene where it's in the morning, and Deadpool has all these like pieces of paper, and they just don't work. They keep falling off, and Deadpool's all annoyed by these pieces of paper. He's like, "We need Velcro." So he puts like Velcro things on everything. It's just funny. It's just an extended scene that probably was deleted on the editing room floor, but because they have more time, because they cut out some violent things. Yeah. I thought it again.
That's great. Maybe some movies should do the same approach.
And I was going to ask you that. Do you think more R-rated movies should do that? Make PG cuts of themselves.
I think the question is, it works with Deadpool because that kind of character can carry those kind of movies by itself. I don't know if like Logan, if you did a PG version of that, would that have done as well?
You make a very good point because humor is part of it, right? Whereas Logan is dark.
Yeah, it's dark, serious. I don't know if that would work as a PG movie, right?
So comedy, R-rated comedies, that like maybe that's something they can think of, like taking your R-rated comedy and dumbing it down or taking it down a notch and recreate it. You can make a lot more money. I don't know how much Deadpool made this weekend, but the theater that I was in was pretty packed on Thursday.
Yeah, Deadpool has a huge following. That's like one of those followings. Like before Comic-Con even was a thing, Deadpool people dressed up as Deadpool way before it. Like he had his movie, and then he had his movie, and it was actually good. Oh man, those Deadpool fans are just gonna be going ham.
It's fantastic. I would give it the exact same rating I gave Deadpool, an 8.5.
That's good. That's fair. Okay.
So I wouldn't change it. It's on par. If you haven't gone to see it, if you were worried that why am I going to go see the same movie again? It is different enough that it's worth seeing. I don't know if I would take my 8-year-old to go see it, but you have a 10 to 12-year-old or 13-year-old. 10 to 12.
Okay.
I would take them. Because they don't.
8-year-olds. Okay, so it's not for 8-year-olds.
I would definitely
it's PG.
Yeah, but there's still stuff in there that I would not want my 8-year-old to see if I had one. But again, like 10 to 13, you could show them. That's where I think you could start seeing it.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you want to know about Deadpool or Once Upon a Deadpool?
No. I think you've answered everything, and you've done a good job with that.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, that's it for the podcast. See you guys later.
No, we have 2 other movies to chat about.
Do we have to talk about these ones?
I think people want to know. We want to save people from going to see bad movies, possibly.
No, it's okay. Everyone should see the movie once.
That is my philosophy. But this is the Christmas season, and there's probably like anywhere between 15 and 20 movies coming out over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Maybe we can help guide. No, not everyone's as crazy as me and you that will go see all 15 to 20 movies.
Okay.
They might only want to see 3 or 5, if that. So we want to guide them into that right direction. So we want to talk about first, Mortal Engines or the Mule?
Let's go Mortal Engines.
Let's go Mortal Engine. Now, on the podcast last week, you were pretty critical of the preview to Mortal Engines. You said the concept was not very good. So I want to start with that question to you. Now, what did you think of the concept now that you got to see it in action?
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit judgmental. That's why you see the movie, just in case. You don't judge a book by its cover, guys. The concept's still, I'm not gonna lie, it's still kind of stupid, but they made it make sense. That's how I feel about it.
See, now I'm gonna have to disagree. I actually really like the concept, and I want to when we break down this movie, I kind of want to break it down in order because I'm on board with this movie for like the first act. Like for the first act of this movie, I'm firmly on board. I'm engaged in this movie. I like what I'm smelling with this movie. I like what I'm seeing. I like everything.
You like the world.
I like the world. It's like a world building kind of movie, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And there's interesting things. It takes place 1,000 years into the future. The world was destroyed, but they don't show us how it was destroyed. This movie's not about the past.
No.
It's about the current world that they live in.
It's an apocalyptic future.
Exactly.
It's kind of like Mad Max meets some other movie that has... What's the movie that has maybe Star Wars?
Mad Max. There's a lot of Star Wars in this movie. There's a lot of Star Wars references, especially in the third act.
Yeah.
There's some Terminator in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but that's kind of where we're going to criticize it, the laziness of the writing and just the what the hell's going on in some parts.
What's going on here? What's the motives?
But the main aspect or the main concept of this movie is their mobile cities have been created to move around the world, and they kind of eat smaller cities. But what
Predator cities? That's what they're called.
Yeah, that's
the Predator.
True.
It's Mad Max meets Star Wars meets Predator.
But the idea is like they use these cities. They don't just eat them. They use them for fuel. They take everything from that city to power their city.
And they're always looking. What are they looking for? Old tech.
Old tech, yes.
So old tech is technology. So like right back then and there, we all had iPhones and MacBooks. So they look for stuff like that.
The screen age, they called it.
Yeah,
in the
movie. Screen age. Because right now it's kind of like steampunk kind of concept. I'm not the biggest steampunk fan as well, so that's probably why I wasn't super into it as well.
So the movie begins with kind of like, to me, very interesting. We see this London city that's marching or massive, huge city with St. Paul's Cathedral at the top, pieces of Big Ben in there, just like little classic things, and it's now hunting these small little cities that have merged together. So these are smaller cities, and they are all kind of like connected, and everyone's like trading. It's nice. And then the big London comes, and they all scatter. And now London hunts this city. So these are all, I think they said, Bavarian cities.
Yeah.
So
they're not even that big. Like no, London compared to them is massive.
It's probably like 100 times bigger than London.
Yeah,
100 times bigger. So in this scene, this chase scene, we're introduced to all the major characters. We've got Hester, who is the kind of on the Bavarian city who wants to be captured. Yeah. We have Tom, who's an archaeologist and is kind of giving Catherine the tour of the museum, the screen age. We get to see that one of the gods of our time are the minions. We are introduced to Thaddeus, who's going to become our villain, and he's the kind of in charge of hunting this city. We're introduced to Anna, kind of, who's like on this wanted poster, and they kind of bring her up that she's an anti-tractionist.
Yes.
And
what did that even mean? Well, we'll go into that later.
Oh, we'll talk about that. We also are under this idea that so Catherine's Thaddeus' daughter, we find out, and Tom's hiding tech that's supposed to be bad.
Old tech,
yes.
Foreshadow.
So after London captures this city, we also meet the mayor of London. Mm-hmm. And we kind of see this idea of Thaddeus versus the mayor. Now, we also get the idea that Thaddeus wanted to come into Europe, but the mayor wanted to stay in the Britain area. So if you know your geography, Great Britain is an island. That's where London has spent the last 1,000 years. And now, because Thaddeus is looking for a new source of energy, they've crossed the English Channel, and now they're hunting through Europe. That's about right. So, this is the question I have for you. Is Thaddeus a hero at this point? Like, do you see him as the villain yet?
Not yet. He seems like a pretty decent guy. You know, the way he talks and treats his workers like everyone has class and dignity. You see early on in the film, someone's getting roughhoused, right, from being captured. And he's like, we don't do that over here. We take care of our own. And then he gave the guy a punishment. I forget what it was for, but he seems like a very good guy.
What I found interesting is all these people from this Bavarian city, they're welcomed into London with open arms.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the concepts that we kind of find out is that London's supposedly dying.
Yeah, the city is dying.
But yet they take these people in to give them places to stay, to be like London citizens. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But whatever. So one of these people in Bavaria is Hester. And Hester, unlike everyone else, is there to kill Thaddeus. Mm-hmm. Because Thaddeus apparently kills Hester's mom.
I mean, she looks very sketch too. If you look at her, compared to everybody else, she has the mask on,
covering her face,
long hair, just creeping stockily. Everybody else is dressed as like a workers and all white and everything like that. And then that's how when Tom sees her attempting to murder him, because she stands out. She didn't have a very good plan.
No.
After she killed him, I don't know what she was gonna do.
I think she would have been happy to die though. I guess I get that.
That was her purpose, I guess.
So she tries to kill him, but Tom saves Thaddeus. Beautifully done. There's this huge chase scene, which I thought was a little over the top, but fine, I'll get over. Tom corners her. Hester jumps to get out of the city through like the grain hole.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the
lazy writing to get out of the city quickly. And
maybe it was like the waste removal.
The waste, right?
But I didn't see poo or anything. It should be more gross.
Yeah. Anyways, so Thaddeus now enters, and Tom is just standing there, and Thaddeus, for some reason, just kicks Tom out.
Yeah, he doesn't really know anything. He's just like, he said you killed her.
To me, you know what that is? That's lazy writing. We need Tom to get out, but we don't want to really give out information yet, because we want Tom to be kind of the idiot that's walking around that has no idea what's going on. So we're just gonna kick him over.
So yeah, he gets kicked over, and then he wakes up and meets Hester Shaw again, and she follows him around, and he follows her around.
And they walk around this continental Europe. They avoid scavengers. They get caught, which I actually like the way they got caught.
Yeah.
So they as they're trying to avoid scavengers, they fall into the ground into this underground
it's like
city.
Remember that centipede? One bug that used to like curl into a ball and it was like impenetrable? Like you used to see that all the time as a kid. That's what that bug. That's what that thing
like the armadillo bug kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what that.
I don't know what it's called.
That's what that mobile. That wasn't really a city. That's more like a ship, I guess.
Yeah, mobile ship, whatever city. Yeah. I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
That weird.
And like they had like the couple that was running it was like really like
very nice.
And they put the two of them into a room that looked like a prison cell, and we find out very quickly it was.
Yeah, that went right. I did not expect that. That was me.
Really?
That was me thinking the good in people. I'm like, oh, they're just nice little old ladies and old men.
No.
Just helping out these poor kids, and they're like, oh, we're sorry, this isn't a bit nut. Like, I feel bad. I thought it was. I thought they were good people. Clearly not.
No chance. There was no way that I actually they gave them some tea. I thought for sure the tea was poisoned, but they nicely put them into their prison cells and they went in.
Well, it was sewage water, so I don't think you can trust someone that gives you sewage water.
Well, we have to understand the time period that they're in. Like it's not London that they're in anymore, right?
Yeah.
She's probably
they're in the boonies.
Hester's probably used to drinking that kind of water all the time.
They're in the Mad Max world where everybody's out for themselves.
So now they get caught, and I enjoyed this sequence. And we find out they're going to be sold into slavery. And at this moment, I'm still engaged. Mm-hmm. But this is the moment at this time is I'm jumping off the ship, and I'm like, this movie's lost me. So again, first act, we're great, and then after the slavery scene where they're going to be sold for slavery, this is where most of the people I think are going to jump off.
You're like, oh, okay.
So I think we have to start. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Catherine the daughter? Or do you want to start with Shrike? What do you want to discuss first as why I jumped off?
You didn't jump off when you first saw Jiha or G.
Well, that's at the slavery part.
Yeah.
But I feel like Shrike is more important to know than Jiha.
Did we meet Shrike already?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll talk about Shrike.
So Shrike, is like a T-800. Is that how you would describe
Terminator.
him? So this is our second act.
Zombie man.
So he is one of the resurrected. Now, I want you to understand that I get this is a fantasy movie, and a fantasy is not normally my number one genre. I'm not a big fantasy fan to begin with.
I am.
But I feel that Shrike is out of place.
He does seem out of place in this movie. Like, when you look at that, I know they introduced it, but they didn't. I would love that at the start of the movie they had a hint of that. If they had a hint of it at the beginning, it'd make more sense.
So the resurrected are supposed to be soldiers that were brought back to life in machines. So you died as a soldier, and then they bring you back to life in this metal body with no emotions and no memory of your other life.
Mm-hmm.
But like that kind of technology doesn't exist anywhere else. And he's the last one. They go out and say, "You're the last one."
That's very true. And on top of that, they have a robot. They have robot resurrected men, but they don't have TVs. Okay.
That's what we're saying, right? Like, and moreover than that, when we meet Shrike, he's in a prison cell.
Yes.
Who's just been captured.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we're gonna find out through this movie, he's pretty indestructible.
Yeah.
He pretty much takes on everyone he goes around, including like the strongest pirates in the entire known world, and takes them down no problem.
Yes.
But somehow he gets captured.
Yeah, with 11, he killed 11 men. They lost 11 men to do it.
But how did they capture him still?
Because they had 24 men. Well, 12.
Oh. Yes. I don't know. He seemed pretty indestructible to me.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious to know how he got caught. He takes down an entire airship later in the movie all by himself.
Yeah, so clearly I don't know what was going on there, but he somehow got captured. And
either way, we find out that he raised Hester. Mm-hmm. And that he wants to turn her into a resurrected. Which, again, a side note here. If he could turn people into the resurrected, why hasn't he done that to more people?
Well, he didn't find anybody he cared about. Hester was the only one he liked. I didn't even think these things were capable of emotion at the first part.
Yeah, but they're not supposed to be capable of emotion. That's what I don't understand it.
This one does. I think it's one of those, that one they're trying to do battle between soul and robots, and the soul takes over still, with those stories where the soul's still there.
Please.
They tried to have that little mini basic combat.
But it almost Shrike makes this almost a different movie. Like the first act, we have this world building world where we learn about London, where we're interested in what's going on, and then the second act, now we're Terminator.
So it's Mad Max meets Star Wars meets Predator meets Terminator.
Yeah, so far. We haven't even got to Star Wars yet.
We're 4 ways in there now.
Then, so that's going on with Shrike, and we'll come back to Shrike in a minute. But we also talk about Catherine. So Thaddeus' daughter. So Catherine is sad that his friend Tom, or her friend Tom, sorry, who I'm gonna come back to that in a minute, or like later on.
Whatever happened? Well, yeah.
Whatever, yeah. So Catherine is like, what happened to my friend Tom? And there's one worker that kind of saw what's going on, so she goes down to ask him what's happened, and the worker tells Catherine that your father pushed Tom out.
Yes.
So her mission is to get into St. Paul's to see what's going on.
Yeah, what's going on in that church?
So
that wasn't a church. That was more like a.
Well, it's a church. St. Paul's is a church
okay.
in the real world. Mm-hmm. In today's world, if you go to St. Paul's, London, it's one of the most famous churches in Europe.
Doesn't look like a church in there.
No, not anymore. Well, that's the crypt. Remember, they go when they walk into the crypt. They go through the crypt of the church.
Fair enough.
So they get into this church and they realize that Daddy's doing a bad thing.
He's making weapons of mass destruction.
Which I want to say, like, if you lived on London, that's a good thing, isn't it? Like, this isn't a community. This isn't like our world today where everyone's working together. It's dog eat dog.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest. They've set this movie up as survival of the fittest. Like, and I was going to ask you this later, but why don't I ask you this now? is London is London bad for destroying these cities?
No, because they take them in. Remember,
Exactly. So if we can
killing
accept
its population.
if we can accept this idea that London is doing what they need to do to survive, isn't this weapon that's going to help them survive good for them?
Well, with the amount of destruction it causes, I would say no.
But that's what war is, right? Think of it like this. What we see in this movie is we see London as a big city and they're going after these little cities. I think it stands to reason that there's other big cities London size out there.
yeah, because there's other predator cities.
Yeah, like Moscow or Berlin or Rome or Paris that are out there doing the same thing. Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Or Toronto!
Maybe with a piece of the CN Tower that everyone lives in.
The CN Tower is the ramming. Like, they rams into the city.
But my point is, like, at the end of the day, when if London's going to head against Moscow,
it needs that weapon.
Don't you want that weapon to keep London strong?
Yeah, I feel that would be the best way. But,
like, it's not like in countries today where, like, we have to live in peace with each other because war is good. A war would lead to nuclear war, right? Where it would destroy the planet. Mm-hmm. Whereas in that era, like, you in order to survive, there isn't farming you could go and do. So
you just eat, scavenge,
right?
Like, but in that one country, it looked a lot more. It had a lot more farmland, and that wall was.
We're going to talk about that later because that's going to be the big elephant with this movie. The big elephant in the room that we're talking about. But I'm just talking about, like, just the concept of Predator City. If Predator cities are good by nature, or they have to, they're just surviving. Mm-hmm. Is that a bad thing? So this is why I don't understand. Like, Catherine sees this weapon in order to survive. Why does she immediately think her quote right away is, "He's not my father anymore"?
I think it's the method he uses, because a lot of the stuff he's done was very Thanos-like, but not. It didn't seem like he didn't have a plan. Well, we'll get to the end. Right? Like, so far, he hasn't done anything wrong, but then you realize, okay.
Well, yeah, because motives, right? And we'll talk about, again, like I said, we'll talk about motives. But my question is, are these predator cities inherently bad? Because if not, having this weapon is something that you should want.
Yeah.
Because it makes you stronger, and your idea is to become stronger. Now, going to destroy somewhere because there's for no particular reason, that's bad, and that's the motives that Thaddeus is going to use it for. But having the weapon itself, to me, is something that protects you from annihilation. And isn't the job of any leader to protect its citizens and its city?
Yeah, but like I said, I think it's because based on the person that was using it, that's why they didn't like the weapon in his hands.
I guess. So either way, Catherine's now served her purpose to kind of, you're not my dad anymore. And then she kind of disappears. And now to kind of go back to our main characters of Hester and Tom, they're about to get sold into slavery. And Xavier, tell us what happens, because this is what you want to talk about.
So the one lady comes, forget her name, Anna Fang. She comes in. She comes in and she is like, I'm going to buy her for 15 gold. And they're like, you know what? I like the one part because it's pretty funny, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to be greedy and try and take this Anna Fang lady instead. And
she's wanted for 50,000.
Yes. 50,000. How much? What's their currency called?
I don't remember what it's called. Quid, something like that.
Quid or something like that.
Quans. Not important.
So she blows off his head, and then she takes out pretty much a whole army of men by herself.
By herself.
No problem. So I guess this is the superhero, like the Han Solo.
Yeah, she's like the trained professional killer.
Yeah.
And we find which is again goes to why the whole Shrike thing, how he was captured. If she couldn't take them down, how they captured him to begin with. But anyway, so she saves Hester and Tom, brings them on their ship to take them somewhere, and we find out that somehow Anna knew Hester's mom.
Yes.
And says she's been looking for Hester for a long time. How in God's name did she find her? So she was on London, walking in the middle of nowhere, captured by something underground, traveling to this slave place, and yet Anna happens to be there, knowing that Hester was going to be there.
Maybe it's just coincidence.
How does she even know what Hester looks like?
I have no idea. The funny thing is, like, they don't have, like, no London paper or anything like that, at least showing, like, maybe it was in the news, or, like, she saw the news and be like, hey,
But
all you needed to do is, like, hey, look, attempted killer, and then she's like, oh, I know that. That's, like, maybe something that reminds her of her, but
even still, she left London, and Thaddeus is looking for her. Doesn't know where they are. They might be dead for all Thaddeus knows. Yet somehow they get miles and miles away to this slave trade, and they're like, oh yeah, I want to buy her. That's just, it doesn't make any sense.
listen, it's the movie magic. She knew where she was. She listened to her heart, she followed it, and then she found her.
Okay. That's lazy writing, though. That's my exact point. It's lazy writing. And then, even more so, how well did she know her mom?
Not really. She's like, your mom was it's one of those, your mom was amazing. She's the best, and she did everything. But she was killed easily, but she was the best at everything.
Yeah, but how did she, like, when mom died, like, you know, Hester was 8. Like, she would have, like, she remembers it. Wouldn't she remember Anna around there?
She did not remember her at all.
She definitely remembers Thaddeus around there.
Yeah. No one ever visited her. She said only
That's
Thaddeus would come.
That's what I'm saying. So how does she know Anna?
That's a good question.
Right? And moreover, do you know what she says? She says to Anna, she says to Hester, and Anna says to Hester, that your mom says you're going to be able to help us. What?
She was, though.
Yeah, I know I know that happened, but how does mom know that she's going to be able to help her?
She knew she was going to die. She felt it in her bones. Like, this man's is evil, man. Everybody just knew he was evil. Even though he didn't show any signs of being evil till he murdered somebody.
Yeah, right?
But he hit it pretty good.
He did. And again, she found the weapon, Medusa, that destroyed the world, presumably. It's like a fusion weapon that Thaddeus is going to use. But if that's the case, Hester's 8 years old. Wouldn't she remember Anna at that point? What if when she finds the weapon, of course?
No, clearly not.
Anyways, Anna for what somehow knew who she was, somehow knew exactly where she was going to be, somehow knew Hester's mom, and thinks that Hester will save the day. She knows all of this, so she takes him to a space station.
You just don't believe and listen to your heart, eh? You just think everything just comes. You know, some people just just close their eyes, meditate, and their answers are told.
Who?
That's what Anna Fang, clearly. Even though we haven't seen her meditate once, she's very one with the universe.
I don't even know how. Do you want an answer to that question? Is that a question?
No, it's not a question. But like,
do you actually?
I'm not gonna lie.
It?
That character was really lame. I just could not get on board and think they were cool.
No, she's old. They're. You know, that's another question. Is there any characters that you could get on board with in this movie?
No. Now I think about it, I didn't like any of the characters.
I didn't like any of the characters either. Like, none of them. Not one character. I wasn't emotionally attached to any character.
Yeah.
And again,
like, I didn't hate a character. I didn't like love a character. I just did not care for what happened. But it's the chemistry,
right? There's no stories to be told. Like, there's no connections between Anna and Hester. There's no real connections between Hester and Thaddeus, even though Thaddeus killed her mom and scarred her face. There's we don't, like, I don't feel that chemistry when I don't feel that hatred when they have their 2 scenes together.
Yeah. It wasn't, a lot of the things I realized, there wasn't much character development, anything like that. It's just guys just saying, you know what, this guy killed my mom, we gotta stop the weapon. Don't let the weapon fire.
It's just like telling a story. But it's not a good story. It's got holes throughout the thing. It's not like you're just not engaged. At least I was engaged, and then as the story's developing, so like the introduction, I'm in, first act. When they get to that rising action, that's where I'm like, I'm out, tapped.
Yeah, see you later.
So they go to this space city. What are your thoughts on this space city, this airborne city?
I know your thoughts on it, but for me, I just did not care for it. I'm not glad I was tapping out at this point.
Well, I didn't like it either. I feel it's out of place. It's made out of wood.
I don't know where they found wood too.
Well, there's tons of trees. I don't know how they don't have farms all over Europe, but it's made of wood. But that's not my problem with it. I feel like the tech is all out of place. I feel like in this movie, they picked and chose what piece of technology they wanted to use, and even though they have these planes that can fly all over the place, they can't get basic things like phones and communication devices like that. Like I feel like I don't know, like it's just from
they forgot all the knowledge.
But from a historical perspective, like you don't like if I gave you a device from 100 years into the future and I gave it to like scientists, what would they do with it?
They'd reverse engineer it.
They would reverse engineer it, and they would learn. They might not be able to replicate it exactly, but they could take principles of it and make it their own.
Yeah.
So they have all this tech, this flying tech for 1,000 years, and they can't replicate some of it. Think of how much our society's changed in the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
How go back to the last 30 years, the brick cell phone to a flip phone to these smartphones that we use that get faster and faster every hour. You buy a phone 1 year, it's obsolete the next year. And you're telling me over 1,000 years that they can't reverse some of this technology that can fly in the air?
No, they can't.
We don't have technology like that today.
That's that's a very good point.
Like I said, I feel like the author, because it's based on a book, or I didn't read the book. I don't know the differences between the book and the movie, so I apologize if you have read it and it's completely different.
The book was better.
You haven't read it,
so I just know.
Probably just as bad. But if the book explains it better, but the movie, the director and the writer and it feels like they wanted to tell a story, so they picked and chose how they wanted to do it, and they ignored it. Be like, even if it contradicted itself, one piece of technology contradicted another. Like, oh well, we're just gonna ignore it.
Yeah, that's. Let's talk about. I want to talk about the motivations of Thaddeus Valentine.
Can we get there in a moment? I just want one more. I want to talk about the Space City, because then it's all about Thaddeus, right?
Okay.
Because I want to talk about.
That's who I really want to talk about.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm getting there, because I really want to focus on the Space City for a second. So we realize in the Space City that Thaddeus is going to use Medusa. And it's going to be this major weapon. They're going after this shield wall, but Shrike shows up. And he destroys this airship, takes on all of the strongest pirates that are anti-tractionists, and tears down an entire city.
What's an anti-tractionist? Is that someone against the cities?
Yeah, who wants to be wants to live in a normal city. An anti-tractionist is someone who wants to live in a normal city, which again, I would imagine that
it's a weird term.
Yeah. So
we're from terrorist to anti-tractionist.
And
it's just so late.
So he's about to kill Tom and stops just before, because he realizes that Hester's in love with Tom. A person who's not a creature that's not supposed to have emotion or recognize emotion is like, oh, I get it. You don't have to turn into a robot anymore. And then he just dies. Really?
He had a hole in his heart.
Is that the power of love? Oh, love can kill a Terminator. You know what? Maybe that's what Sarah Connor should have done in the original Terminator. Just hug Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then it would have all been cured. It would have been over.
I'm pretty sure the opposite in Terminator happened. He realized that he was in love with the what's-his-face, and then he murdered him instead.
Right. So, which leads me to this question before we get into it. Now, I don't know about you, but I was shocked that Hester and Tom, this love story was going on in this movie.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense that it would develop. They have nothing in common. Like, the only thing in common they have is just a big event that
and they say, and he was not going to leave her. That was the big thing. But I didn't feel like there was connection or chemistry between the two of them.
I felt more chemistry between Kathleen, and Tom.
Yeah, Catherine and Tom. That's how the movie starts. It has Tom is trying to impress this more well. Tom is supposed to be like this lower class, like archaeologist, and Catherine is the daughter of Thaddeus. So she's like in this like elite thing. She helps him out. There's so much chemistry there.
Yeah,
like that's the love story we're hearing, right? When Tom goes, Catherine turns against her father because her father turned on Tom.
Yeah, I really thought it'd make more sense for them to be together.
Even later in the movie, like when they're talking on radio, it's like she recognized his voice. Oh, Tom, you're alive! It's like that to me was love.
Yeah, if anyone had a chance of falling for each other, it would be those two. This one kind of felt like, and then at the end it was so lame.
It came out of nowhere. Going? It came out of absolute nowhere. I mean, okay, no, it didn't come out of nowhere. If you've seen the movie, yes, I get it. They had their little deep looks at each other, but like,
something was there.
But from a plot perspective, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it was just seemed like the romance was there to be there. We don't know how it looked in the books. There's probably more details of it being created, but like from the movie perspective, it just seemed forced.
Oh my god, way too forced. Like, oh my god, we need to make these two love each other, even though they shouldn't. They should just be friends, kind of thing. But anyway, they go to the Shield. I don't remember the name of the city, but it's kind of like in the Asian. Young, is that what it is?
No, I don't know. No. It's Young something.
So, and Thaddeus wants to destroy the city. So now, go ahead. Talk about the motivation, because yes, I'm with you.
Okay, the first thing I had a problem with was they're in Europe for the whole time. I don't know how many days has passed, but it looks like this all happened over an amount of days. And then somehow they're at China?
I don't know if China. I would imagine
China or like
I would imagine Turkey.
Mongolia?
I was thinking Turkey. Like, you know, like Istanbul, like that would be the wall to get from Europe to Asia.
Turkey, but like
that's how I pictured it. But it could very well be the Himalayas that they're at.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We have no idea where the geography's all kind of out of whack, and
they're flying places like at different times. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so you were saying like
so that city, I don't know what the geography with that was, but whatever, we'll let that slide. But Thaddeus, okay, so his idea, he's gonna burst the wall out and have London take all the resources that are in that resource town. We realize he totally destroys the wall. Like that one shot, the weapon was very destructive. I think that's one of the most destructive weapons I've seen on screen. Well,
other than like a nuclear bomb, yes.
Yeah. Like obviously the Death Star and the Star Killer.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
But like this
in
one
in a non-science fiction movie, like in a fantasy kind of, because it's a fantasy genre, right? It's kind of like from the people of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, that kind of weaponry. Like it's just,
it was very destructive, right? So they somehow find a way to stop it, and he's like, "This wall's going down one way and another." Keep in mind, his whole motivation is to save London. Protect London and keep it. And or what were you gonna say?
I was saying, is it though? Because like we have two perspectives of this. So he says that London is dying, and then his daughter is like, "No, it's not." When they finally have when she finally confronts him, it's like, no, London's not dying. Like she would know apparently, but
we have no idea if she would know.
But if London's dying, I'm sorry, I'm Team London.
Even if you are Team London, the problem was that after he decides his reason, we'll just know his reason. We don't know if it's dying or not, but his reason for what he's doing is because he believes it's dying, and this is the right route to.
I think he's in it for power. I think that's pretty much established. He's trying to gain power.
So the next thing he decides to do is when his weapon stops working from the brave work of the heroes, he's like, "I'm going to crash this city into the wall to save London." I don't know. Last time I checked, I don't think you're supposed to try and sacrifice the person you're trying to save for your own personal goal.
Right. You are absolutely right, Xavier. I can't agree more. But I want to talk even about the battle sequence here. We're in This is Act 3, so we're in Star Wars territory. So again, we consider like London like the Death Star.
Yeah. And Star Wars meets Mad Max meets Terminator meets I'm trying to think of a romantic movie. Oh, I had it.
What
The
kind
Notebook.
The Notebook.
meets I forget the last one.
Oh,
we said.
whatever.
We
Who
should've
cares?
wrote it down.
It's like 5 different movies. I think we get the idea. So there are 4 pirate ships, and these 4 pirate ships are going to somehow take down the mighty London.
Even though the entire fleet of young, I was gonna say young Kai, but that's in Game of Thrones.
Wrong.
In
fantasy.
that city was destroyed in one shot. But
So-
to be honest, why didn't she tell him that he was making a weapon? Like, no one told them that they were going to make a weapon, watch out. Like, they have this information.
But
and
again,
nobody
it's
told them
not.
to
It's,
prepare for it.
and why are they standing? Like, the entire city is on the wall. The city's built on the wall. So when they're taking down the wall, the city is being destroyed at this.
Yeah.
So why are all of the ships on the wall that's going to be attacked? If
I don't know.
either London's attacking the ships and going to destroy the city, or they're going to destroy the wall and the ships are going to. I don't know. It makes no
Because
sense.
they were there before he was coming, and they're like, yeah, London's coming.
So as these pirate ships, these 4 pirate ships, are taking down all of the torrents around London, they all die, except for Anna and Tom and Hester.
No, the other guys lived.
Yeah, I guess.
The guy with the dreads.
Yeah,
and
but
the...
his ship gets blown up.
Yeah.
Now, do we care that they die? Do you have an emotional attachment
No,
to
I
these
didn't know
pirates?
who any of them were.
Can you name any pirate other than Anna?
No.
Either can I. That's poor writing. Would you not agree with that?
I forgot. I just remember that's the guy in the dreads, and that's all I knew.
So, Anna and Hester, they land and they go to try to shut down this Medusa weapon. Anna ends up fighting Thaddeus.
Yeah.
This person who took down an entire slave owning place. This person who went hand to hand against a Terminator kind of creature
The robot.
and held her own, loses to Thaddeus, and not even like
She was shot though. That's what they say. Remember, she got shot at the side.
Oh,
So she was in full power.
Oh, that's it. Oh,
And
sorry.
She already talked about dying in the movie, so she was gonna die.
Yeah, she talked.
When I die,
Yes, you called that. You
spread
turned
my
that.
ashes in the wind.
But again, and they didn't even do that. Like there was,
Yeah,
it felt like
she
her
just-
death was so out of place in the
Yeah.
movie they were trying to. There was foreshadowing, but it's like.
Oh yeah,
we're
when
gonna
she
forget about it.
died, she did kind of like this. Oh whoops. She just like Passion of Christ style, just followed down. So it's so meets Passion is Christ as well on this.
But now, after Medusa shut down, like you said, the solution for Thaddeus, let's just ram London into the wall to take it down.
Let's murder everybody.
Yeah.
Let's murder I'm trying to save the city of London, and what better way to do it than
So
murder
what are
all
these
the-
motives? So the motives initially, like I said, if the motives to take down the wall are to help London, well, to me, I'm on board with Thaddeus. Thaddeus isn't a villain. He is he's
Just trying to survive.
trying to save his city. And if it was written from a different perspective, if Tom and Hester weren't in this movie, we could very well see that he would have been the hero and he would have been written as the hero. But because he is turned bad because he goes after Tom and he kills Hester's mom, now we know he's a bad person. But that movie could have easily been written where London's the good people.
Where they're the heroes.
Because, like, and the reason I say this is going back to that first sequence, when they take that Bavarian city, I didn't get the idea that the people of London were bad.
You didn't? They were screaming. They're like, yeah, kill, hunt.
Hunt, but,
Ooh,
but
hunt,
everyone,
yeah!
but everyone gets
It's
to
mob
be part.
culture.
But everyone gets to be part of London after.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Wouldn't you
we
be
want
scared
more,
if
we want
people
more
are
people.
cheering and wanting saying hunt, kill?
But this is why I don't understand the concept of these predator
then when the
cities.
weapon
Are they
was
bad
being-
or good?
And then when the weapon was being fired, they were pretty, there was mob culture like, yeah, fire, kill them!
But and that's why I don't understand. That's why my question will always
Murder.
become: Are the predator cities bad? Because if they're bad, I'm with you. But I feel like everyone's a predator city. So either everyone needs to go back to living in settlements and go back to 1,000 years, or go back to before the Earth was destroyed, and that's the message of the movie that they didn't really talk about. Or the predator cities are good and no holds barred, do
That's
whatever
a
you
good
want.
question, though. You bring up a good point. What was the message of this movie?
I don't know.
Is
Technology's bad? Question
Don't trust
mark?
technology. Technology is bad with people in the wrong hands. Maybe it's an anti-Trump
Well, we did
movie.
see that when when the city was captured and like everyone was welcome, they did say that your children might be separated from the
yeah.
parents for a while.
You
That's not
heard that too, and I was
that's
like,
that's not a
that's
shot at
kinda-
anybody.
I know, right?
But going back to the ending, so now we go full Star Wars. So Tom, who is an archaeologist and this naive kid, ends up he always had a dream to be an aviator, to fly. So here was his chance. The only ship flying. And as London is making their way to that wall, he flies into the heart of London and blows up the center part of it, stopping the city in its tracks.
And he saves everybody, like young
destroying the
Luke.
Death Star, like a young.
He
Luke
didn't
Skywalker?
destroy the city, okay? That's Thaddeus' job.
Yeah, but he ends up doing it. Thaddeus was going to use it as a huge weapon to blow things up.
Battering ram.
Yeah. Anyways, then Thaddeus, who escapes on a plane, fights Hester. And we find out something that I knew from the very first moment I met Hester.
That's
Hester is his daughter. And she tells him that you've always known, haven't you? Ha 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 ha.
You're just like me. So they're sisters. Catherine,
Half-sisters.
Valentine, and half sisters.
Yeah, but they never have
Where's
a scene
the other
together.
wife? Where's the other wife?
No idea. Was the other? Was she cheating? Was the wife already dead, and then he met Hester's mother? We don't know. There's no introduction with Catherine. You're left with more questions.
Yeah, I just cannot stand Hester Shaw's backstory.
Oh, it's horrible.
Be right back. I'm trained by a robot killer man.
And even how does Thaddeus meet Hester's mom? Like, we know that he flies her in a ship, but
They're both architects, but one wants destruction and the other one does not.
they clearly were in love
Yeah,
because they kept
not
visiting
strong
for 8
enough.
years.
Not strong enough because his passions were stronger than his love.
So I feel like we said, I think this movie, in my opinion, there's 3 different movies that are trying to be told. Like the first movie, I think is fascinating, and the second and third movie, they're trying to create sci-fi movies in a fantasy movie, and it doesn't work. It's like the writers, the director, and even maybe the novelist, if it's the same, didn't know what genre they were dealing with and tried to mimic things that didn't belong. I found there was no compelling story. There was no motivations for characters. There was no characters that you actually liked. And there's no why. Just why am I here?
No. It's even the main character Tom, like his reasoning for being involved is very like, what's the point of him being there? He's like, I just gotta do it.
The love interest to be in the Notebook part of your story.
I do this because of love, and I'm a good guy.
What would you do to save this movie? Like if you had the power in this movie, what
Not
would you
make
do?
it.
Not make it. There's nothing. But you. Fair enough.
That's my first.
That's your first thought. Just forget it. I would have had like just 2 predator cities going head to head. I would have made the city of London just a good city. I would have made Hugo Weaving's character good, more like.
Versus who? The Russians? Because the Russians are always the bad guys.
Sure, why not? Let's make the Moscow the other city. So London takes this Bavarian city, uses it as fuel, but invites everyone to work and live in London. It is the nicest city there. There is no anti-traction cities. There's no people living. It's on.
No one's living.
No
Everyone's dead?
living. No one's living like on farmland.
Okay.
But make the focus like London versus Moscow. One group that's like wholehearted villains.
So it's like that big. Remember that robot show where they faced like those small little robots and fought each other? It's like
Real
that.
Steel with Hugh Jackman.
Not Real Steel. It was this live show on Spike TV. Like these guys would make these random like mobile robot things, and like
No
they
idea.
had little saws and stuff.
No idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Oh man, it's hilarious.
That's how I would save it. I think the world building element is interesting, but the fact that there are people that are living on the Earth now leads to this one question I can't move away from, and it's the big elephant question in the room. if you can cultivate the land, if you can live off the land, why are you still living in cities? You know how much fuel it costs to live in cities?
Those cities? Yeah. That's what I was thinking. They're like, these guys are hoarding it, but apparently the Yonkai or Yonko or whatever they're called, they're bad because they hoard it for themselves. But then they look like they're open into having people join them, so...
I don't know. Again, I don't know. All right, last question I have for you. Now, I don't. You know what? I'm done with it. Let's go to ratings. I don't even want. I think we've picked this movie apart enough. Let's go to ratings. 3 out of 10. 3. I'm gonna be a little bit higher. I'm gonna be nicer. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
You're too nice.
No, but because the concept is interesting. There was a potential to save it.
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Well, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. And if you watch this movie, you go to watch it, and feel free to leave a comment to see how you view it. But if you go and watch it, see if you can agree that when you see the first act, you're like, it's actually pretty interesting. It's kind of original in a lot of ways. There's nothing really like it. But when you get to that second and third act, it's like you're trying to rehash things that already existed and taking away from the originality of your story. Go into the originalness of the story. Predator City versus Predator City. That's kind of how I would like to see it.
Versus Toronto.
No, that's in different continents. That's part 2. All right, that's it for Mortal Engines. Let's go on to The Mule.
The Mule. This is the better movie of the two.
Really?
Yes.
Why do you think this movie is good?
I didn't say that. I just said it was better.
All right. Can I?
Don't put words in my mouth, buddy.
Going into Mortal Engines, you were not interested.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what to expect. Going into The Mule, I was excited. I love Clint Eastwood. I think he's a fascinating actor. I think he's almost a better director in some ways. And I think of American Sniper and Gran Torino are two movies that have been released over the last decade that I've been just like glued to from start to finish. So I was really excited for this movie. Were you or like
I was
like how was you?
I wasn't like excited. I was just like, oh, interesting. We'll see what this is about.
Well, this movie disappointed me thoroughly. I left this movie bored and having more questions than answers.
Yeah. This is based on a true story too, right?
It's loosely based on a true story. I don't think it's based on the story very much. Mm-hmm. I think that the Bradley Cooper character and the Clint Eastwood characters of Earl, Clint Eastwood, mm-hmm. and Colin for Bradley Cooper. So those two characters were similar or based on real characters, but everyone mm-hmm. else was made up. And from what I know, Earl wasn't the name of the actual character, so Clint Eastwood changed the name of the main character.
Yeah, usually they change the name. Unless sometimes. It's a biopic.
Yeah, sometimes. So, I'll let you start on this one. I started on Mortal Engines. Where do you want to start?
Okay, so we'll start at the beginning. We're introduced to Earl. He loves his flowers. He has a flower shop at this hotel. He has this convention, I believe.
Flower convention.
So he's at a flower convention. Everybody loves his flowers. He's just making a killing. Very successful. Wins an award. Buys the whole town drinks. But while he's there winning an award, he misses his daughter's wedding. Which is kind of weird. Like, I'm sorry, but like, he is a terrible father. How do you miss your daughter's wedding just to sell flowers?
So, are we liking this element of the story, or are we not liking this element?
I don't like it. Right now. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, I'd understand if he was like, you know, if you're like a DEA agent or like FBI, you have to like that makes more sense because you're doing something to like protect the country. But, buddy, you're selling flowers. Like, go see your daughter's wedding. Right.
I like the beginning. I loved. Actually, I would say I go as far to say I love the beginning. I loved Earl. He's successful. He's a work first mentality, which is very old school, right? Mm-hmm. This isn't he. He's 90 years old at this point, so he grew up. He fought in Korea, as we find out. He is an old school mentality. You work first, and you know what? If you don't see your kids, you don't see your kids. It's not our more helicopter parent society. You know what? He made tough decisions, and he regrets some of them, as we find out as the movie going on. But I like that element to him, that character that he's been consistent with. He spends his money recklessly, and we see it at that bar where he's like, "Shots on me!" Even the whole wedding party. Yeah, why not? Everyone on me.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like change, right? He hates the technology.
Yeah.
Damn the internet is what he always says. It's great.
I love when old people say "damn the internet." It's just the funniest thing ever.
It's so good.
I hate the internet.
And then it flips to 12 years later, and we see the exact opposite. So he went from being successful to his farm is in foreclosure from the bank.
It's getting shut down.
All that money he spent recklessly that he didn't save, now he has no money.
Yeah.
So he had put work first. Now he has alienated his family. He's divorced. His daughter hasn't talked to him in 12 years. The only member of the family that speaks to him is his granddaughter. And what killed him?
His
what killed him? The internet.
The internet.
Which again is the irony of ironies.
I was like, he didn't die in this movie. That went right over my head. I'm like, you didn't.
Come
die
on,
in
I
this
set
movie.
it up. You just said you loved it when old people said I hate the internet, and the internet got him, which I love.
Yeah, you set that up, and I did not hit that out of the
No, strike one.
Whoops.
So I actually really like that aspect to it because it really does a good job in the first 10 minutes of the movie, first 15 minutes of the movie, setting the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. It's believable to me. Again, maybe because of the history background, but people who, grandparents sometimes, our grandparents weren't always as close with their kids because they were too busy making a living. A mentality that our youth has kind of lost. Making the tough decisions. You know what? I couldn't be here because I was traveling in the country putting money on your table. Now, as we get to really meet Earl, we know that some of it's self-inflicted. He was on the road, sure, but he spends his money recklessly, so he's not a perfect person.
Do you think... Actually, we'll get into this when we get more into the movie.
Okay. So, he goes... 12 years later, he's going to his granddaughter's wedding.
Wedding party, I believe.
Yeah, so like the I don't know if it's an engagement party. Either way, he goes there, and he is not well received by the family.
No,
the granddaughter
is by the granddaughter.
Yeah,
but
loves
everybody
him.
else. The mother refuses to even be in like the same vicinity.
Iris, which again, the name of the daughter is perfect. Iris, flower, it's great.
Yeah.
But Iris sees Earl and's like, I'm leaving. Here's the stuff. Bye bye. I'll come back when he's gone.
And the grandmother's just letting him have it. And I'm just like, I don't like to have my business in front of everybody. So it just makes me cringe when people are like yelling and having family fights in front of especially during the wedding. At least go into a separate room, have the discussion there, but not in front of everyone. Like, come on now.
It's true.
No one needs to know about that. It's a wedding party. It's supposed to be happy.
So there's someone overhearing him, like this fight, that he's financially in trouble. That's the reason he's there. And he comes to Earl and he's like, here's my card. You can make a lot of money. All you have to do is drive.
Did you like that part?
Love it.
Really?
Love it. Why not?
I thought it was weird that I'm like, so what kind of people is his granddaughter hanging out with? That
it's not a granddaughter. Remember, he says he's a friend of the bridesmaids.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's who he. So it's like, for example, let's say you're one of my groomsmen at my wedding. And then someone that you bring to this thing, maybe a girlfriend, is just a bad person and is looking for an opportunity. And we know that Earl's never had a traffic ticket, no speeding ticket, no running a red light or a stop sign.
He's a very good clean driving record.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, all I have to do is drive. I'm in. And he goes to Texas to pick up his first cargo. And he gets paid big bucks.
Yeah.
And he uses that money on the granddaughter's wedding. And says, it was a one-time thing.
I'm not doing this again.
Until he goes to see his farm that's foreclosed. And he's like, well, if I do it one more time, I can have my farm and my house back. So, what's he do?
He goes on run number 2.
Uses that money, Gets a little bit more drugs this time. He mules in. I don't know if I said that right, but whatever. He has more drugs that he brings in, and he has a new car, and he gets his house back, and that's it. He's done.
He's very. Then again, would you look at an old guy that bought a Lincoln truck? You just think he got it. That's his retirement
Yeah,
money.
absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. Because like me watching gang shows are like you don't want to look like you have a big spending.
It's a truck. It's not. I don't think it's not like, and it's not like I feel like if you got a Cadillac or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Porsche,
Yeah.
then you're like splurging. But that's probably like a standard issue. Because what was it? It was a Chevy truck.
It was in Lincoln. It was really nice. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at the truck. I'm like, that's a really nice truck.
Okay. Sorry, cars are not my thing. Yeah. Please don't judge me.
I was like, whoa. I'm like, they make Lincoln trucks? Okay.
So after the second time, he's done. Going back to horticulture, happy, until he finds out the VFW, where the veterans go to relax, to play pool, to have poker nights, to eat.
It's getting shut down, and he loves this place.
And he loves it because he's a veteran, and you know what? And veterans aren't taken care of by the government, and this is a theme.
Another anti-Trump.
I don't know if it's he's supposed to be but he's supposed to be pro army, right? This is you could look at this in the Obama era, the Clinton era, the Bush. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is we need to help our troops.
Yeah,
And I'm not American, but in Canada it's the same thing. You gotta protect your troops, right? They are sacrificing everything for you. You have to, put in a couple of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to make sure that they are taken care of.
I don't think that's enough. Probably more like.
For each person. For each person.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, for each person. And then for the VFWs, right? Like these people go through post traumatic stress, right?
Yeah.
We saw it in American Sniper with Bradley Cooper's character, like the problem some of these soldiers have when they come back. Like they need places like this. Captain America Winter Soldier. We see the same thing, right? With Falcon's character, right? He had problems coming back too, and he now works at the VA, right?
Yeah.
So this is important. So he goes on a third run, and all of the money he takes goes to repairing the VFW.
Just been putting it into the community.
The Robin Hood, right? Taken from the rich, given to the poor.
He's not taken from the rich. He's getting paid by the rich.
Yeah, so he's taken from them. Kind of. So he's done. But when he's at that VFW party, someone asks him, can you help the ice rink?
And he's like,
run number 4.
Ooh, maybe I can.
But here's my problem. So at the beginning, he's this character that's trying to help everyone. Like it's not self-motivated. Mm-hmm. But we lose that after the 4th run. There are what 12 or 13 runs in this movie, and run 5 to 13 or 5 to 12, we don't get into what his motivations are. He's just kind of doing it.
Yeah, I think what he got so used to doing that he's like, you know what, I might as well do this job. I haven't gotten caught yet, so now I'm just gonna keep doing it. Cause like he starts. I think it's kind of like addictions to like drugs or like a cigarette, right? You start with one and you're like, you know what, that never again. Only when I'm socially, right? And then you just keep doing it over and over again.
But his passion is horticulture, right? That's his passion. This is what I don't understand about it. Like his passion is he likes driving, but that's not like there's got to be this goes back to what we talked about with the other movie, motivations.
Yeah, his motivation. That's true. It's true that you say that he's focused more on his flowers, but then he keeps delivering. He doesn't know what it is yet. But,
no, he does. He knows in the second run, right?
The second run? It's not the second run that he.
That's when he meets the police officer, the dog, and they put the benzoyl.
That's like the 4th.
No, I don't think so. I think the 4th is when he meets.
No, the 5th is when he meets Julio.
Well, yeah, so it's like the third. It's the third of the. It's the second and the third.
Yeah, so I'd say 4th. I think it's 4th.
You think it's 4th? We'll have to rewatch the movie and see. But so I don't know. Like motivations to me, they're very important. And so by the time he's done the 4 things that he wants to do, and when he comes back in the middle of like the 5th and 6th run, he's got the bling now that he's wearing. That's not the character that we had for him.
Maybe he just really liked the money. And then he's like, hey, man,
but we don't see that. Anyways. If he does like the money, we never see that. Other than that one little piece of jewelry that he's wearing, we don't see him spend the money. We don't.
Plus, he liked hanging out with the strippers and those guys, too,
Maybe.
Do you think, when he was out on the road, did he ever cheat on his wife? I think he cheated on his wife.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Like we're talking about like when he was younger.
When he was younger, just always at work.
I'm gonna say no, but I have no basis to make that knowledge. I'm just gonna see the good. I'm gonna look at this from the good in people.
Look at the good. Okay, fair
He
enough.
seems like yeah, sure, he was a drug mule, but I'm gonna say that at least at the beginning of the movie, he was doing it for selfless reasons.
Yeah.
You know, like taking care of others was what he put more important. But we just don't see his motives, and that to me is a very important thing that I want to know moving forward. So meanwhile, while all this is going on, these runs, we meet Andy Garcia, who is Laton, and he realizes
El Chapo inspired,
and we realize that, or he realizes that he's got like this golden goose in Earl. Never got a parking ticket. He wants to make Earl his number one mule, so he sends his number one lieutenant Julio to go watch him. And when this is his like fifth run, or maybe it's his fourth run, whenever he meets him. And by this time, Earl's on like first name basis with all of these guys in Texas, asking about their grandchildren, asking
their family, friends and stuff.
Give me directions, things like this. And you have Julio that's like, we're doing things my way. Where this, where you go on schedule, blah, blah, blah.
He's trying to be uptight.
Yeah.
They're trying to be, they're trying to, I thought the movie was going to show him become more like, they get more together. Like, they're more friendly. They start to open up to one another after a while. Yeah.
So, either way, he goes on this run, and he doesn't follow orders, and Julio wants to have him killed. He calls back Laton, we gotta kill this guy. He changes his routes, and Laton's like, that's a good thing that it changes routes. That means the FBI won't, or the DEA won't be on him. They won't know what he's doing. It's good. Trust me.
He just goes on his own time.
So whatever. So as all this is going on, the DEA is doing an investigation. So Lawrence Fishburne, who doesn't have a name, he's in charge. He's kind of like the supervisor, and Bradley Cooper's character, Colin, he's kind of in charge. Sorry, I thought I had to sneeze.
You just stopped. Like, what's going on?
It's one of those things where I just thought it was coming, but it didn't. So they early on. So Colin comes in from DC. He's made some busts there. He's going to
some busts in New York City.
So now he's coming. He's coming to Chicago, to Chi-Town, to the Windy City to make some busts.
He's going to Chirac.
And the first thing they do, they flip one of Laton's guys. Mm-hmm. Oh ho ho! They flip him, and he's feeding them information. And the one thing I could say about this movie is it's not developed at all. Like, I don't even know the point to half of it, other than that so they can catch Earl.
Yeah.
Would you not agree with that?
I totally agree.
Do you think the characters were fleshed out, developed in any way, shape, or form?
The only character that was developed was Earl.
That's it. The only character in the entire movie. Not the children, not the grandchildren, not anyone. Just Earl. Mm-hmm. And not even in a good way, I think, in most cases.
He just got worse and worse as it.
So Earl keeps every run that he goes on, from 1 to the last one, which is either 12 or 13, is bigger and bigger and bigger, making more money and more money and more money for Laton. But Laton is betrayed and killed. Again, the motives are, I question.
It's by the guy with the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
He looked pretty cool.
But what are the motives?
Laton didn't wear a cowboy hat, so he had to kill him. He's like, this is the cowboy hat gang now.
So this new cowboy dude, he calls in Julio and says, your boy, Earl, doesn't go off book anymore. Otherwise, he dies. He is killed.
You got to stick to schedule. Even though he haven't been caught for 12 runs because he doesn't stick to schedule.
Even though he's your number one mule and he brings in more drugs than anyone else, he's got to be made an example of. So before he picks up his drugs, he's taken aside into the middle of nowhere and gun to his chest and says, "If you go off route one more time, you're gonna be dead, just like the guy in this trunk here."
Yeah. My favorite thing about that is whenever he's threatened with a gun, he kind of just stops. He lets them talk, and he's like, "Go ahead, do it. I've seen worse." And I'm like, he's 90 years old. Like, he probably does not care if he gets killed.
He fought in Korea. There's no way. He has seen worse. There's no doubt.
So he's just like, kill me.
But so this is one of my opinions on movies like this. I don't like movies where everyone's dumb. Like everyone's dumb. Like these cartel people, they're dumb. Like Andy you killed the smart person to put dumb people in charge of the cartels, so Earl could get caught. It's like we need to kill Andy Garcia because he's too smart. If Andy Garcia is around, we can't get Earl caught.
I think they would have got caught anyways because they got permission to tap the phones and everything. And the reason why is like they had the time, but because he went, well, going a little bit spoiler ahead here, but like he goes to his wife's funeral, does that, is late, but the reason why he gets caught is because they tapped the phones and realized where he was.
Yeah, because he's changing his routes all the time, though. They caught him on the highway, but if he was going a different route, he might not have been on that highway.
That's true.
And remember, he was supposed to get caught at that hotel.
Yeah.
Which, again, to my dumb point, the cops are dumb. How do you miss Earl's truck at the hotel? You know you're looking for this black truck. It's a black truck.
There was like two, but I don't know how he didn't get caught. Where did he park?
I don't understand how he could park right beside the Waffle House.
Yeah, behind the box, behind.
It doesn't matter. You're the freaking police. You telling me that you didn't
the whole area.
You telling me that again? You're the police. You think, oh, the car must be parked in the hotel because clearly the mule is gonna park it right beside his room. He's not gonna park it a block away to maybe no.
Who knows? It's
mind blowing how stupid everyone in this movie is.
But
like you said, he goes off track to go see his wife, spends a week there. He finally gets caught, and by the cartel, they say, we're not going to kill you until after your run.
Yeah.
Okay. So he gets caught by the police. And then he pleads guilty. When he has alibis, he has a lawyer that's going to get him off.
Yeah,
I'm going to plead guilty.
Yeah, he's old, right? He could just say he was threatened and he's senile and everything.
Or I didn't know what was going on. And But again,
that's one of the funniest.
This leads me to so many questions. So what happens to Julio, who disappears for the last half an hour of the movie?
Yeah.
Does the cartel get caught? Does the whole thing get crumbled down?
Does the whole operation get
What happens to the informant? What happened to all the money that Clint Eastwood, that
$12
that
million.
Earl came out? All that money that he has gotten over those 12 runs that he hasn't spent yet, did he put it away? For his granddaughter? Family? What did he do with it all? There's what happened? What's going to happen to Colin's character? Because we know that he's having some problems with his wife, right? He missed the anniversary. Yeah. There was nothing. They left us with so many questions than answers than we needed. The
ending, because the message of this thing is don't hang out with the cartel, guys.
I just think, again, like with the other movie, there's so many different things going on here. It's hard to follow the story that they're telling.
Yes.
Are they telling the story that family is important? Are they telling the story of a drug lord? Are they telling the story of the mule? What story are you telling? And if tell that one story, don't tell 5 different stories to leave the audience with so many questions when the movie is done.
I think what they really wanted to focus on was crime doesn't pay and family is important. That's the 2 things they seem to focus on. Because I feel like those had the most attention out of all the other ones.
When you were watching this movie, not now, but when you were watching the movie, did you know who Bradley Cooper's character's name was?
No.
I didn't know either. I had to look it up for this podcast. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know the character. And if I can come out of a movie not knowing a character's name, I think that's bad. I don't know. I didn't feel any tension in this movie. I was never like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I was never at the edge of my seat.
No, I figured he was going to... Well, as you know, I fell asleep through some of the movie.
Yes, I heard him snoring beside me. I had to give him an elbow because the snoring was loud. And I'm like, that tells you something you need to know about the movie. It's slow and not in a good way. I don't mind a good, slow, old movie, but... You gotta have plot that goes with it, and you gotta develop the story, develop the characters.
Conversations, interesting interactions. The only interactions that were interesting was all of Earl's interactions.
Yeah. Because
it felt so genuine. Like, Clint Eastwood was great in this movie.
He was. He's fantastic. He's probably the only good thing I would say about the movie.
Like Bradley Cooper is usually I enjoy his performance. This was not one.
But that's not. But I don't blame Bradley Cooper for this. Yeah. There's no writing for him.
Yeah,
he's good in his. It's almost like an IOU to Clint Eastwood, who's directing this movie. He's like, you gave me an Oscar nomination for American Sniper. I'll do this movie for you. That's how I felt about it. So the one scene that did, or they tried to bring some tension to, was the scene where Earl meets Colin. They're at this Waffle House. And to me, I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Heat with Pacino and De Niro? It's the first movie they did together.
Yeah,
Well, technically, the
I
first
saw
movie
once, but
they
I
were in
remember
the same
it.
timeline because Godfather 2 they're in together.
Yeah,
But Pacino is the cop, De Niro's the villain, and there's a scene where they meet. To me, they were trying to go with something like that to create some kind of tension, but it just didn't work. There's just no way that he was gonna be caught at that part of the movie.
Yeah,
and because of that, it made Bradley Cooper's character very unintelligent, and it took away from it. So I have a couple questions for you, Xavier.
Sure.
The first, I read a couple reviews and I was kind of surprised by the portrayal of how they thought of Earl. And my dad said the same thing to me after I told him I watched it. They all think that Earl was extremely racist. I didn't feel that he was. I'm gonna ask you because I don't know. Maybe I misread.
I wouldn't say racist. I'd
Not
say
politically
more
correct.
ignorant.
Ignorant, right?
Ignorant
he uses he refers to the black people that he comes to as Negroes, which is not culturally appropriate in this day and age. But he's also 90 years old.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I'm like, those guys, like people from that age, then I don't expect them to be on the politically correct path.
Like, to me, if he's racist, he's not going to stop and help them. He's not, and as he's talking to them, he's very nice. Well, he's saying you should know how to change a tire, but he's like, let me help you do that.
But he's more. I'd feel like if anything, he hates generations. Like different generations, he's in ages.
Yeah, he's definitely going after Cooper for being on his phone all the time.
Yeah,
always on your phone, you generation.
He's like, you guys are just banging your phones and stuff like that.
Like, I feel he said negative things to all cultures and all races in the movie. I didn't think he was. He employed Mexicans on his
he even took the time to learn Spanish.
Yeah,
like, if you're racist, why are you learning Spanish?
Exactly, and he was like the people he worked for, that worked for him on his farm, his horticulture farm. Mm-hmm. Like, at the end, he gives them their final paycheck. Like, the last thing he does to them before they leave is, "I'm sorry it didn't work out." He I didn't gather that. That's why I feel like I'd ask you and see what you thought.
I could see what's it called? When I heard it, I'm like, people are probably gonna think he's racist. Like, I just say more, like I said, he's more ignorant, not racist.
And not politically correct. Like, he didn't know. Like, he was like, oh, like the scene I told you. He's like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, he's not like, oh, no, I'm gonna call you that because that's how I think it is. Like, oh, oops. Or
like, even like when he met the lesbians on the bikes, they call, I'm not gonna say it, but something on a bike, right? But what's it called? He just didn't really know, right? He was just like, oh, let me help you there, fella, right? Because he just doesn't believe, because back then, in his time, things were very different.
And the women always would have long hair, right? Yeah. Like, as you're walking to it, you might think they're male as well. Like, you just might not know.
So, yeah. I feel bad for him, but...
I just feel that's a poor criticism of the movie. Like, of all the criticism you could have, like, I don't know if I would go there.
He's racist.
Like, I just didn't.
Everything's racist.
I just didn't get it from it. I just, like, definitely not necessarily most, like, culturally in tune with everything going on. Yeah. Ignorant, like you said, and not politically correct.
You know who is racist? That cop that stopped Julio.
Yes, that guy was racist.
Like, what are you doing here? At that point, what's his face? Clint Eastwood didn't have to say anything. He could have just left them and let them have that problem.
Absolutely. See you later.
But no, he stops, and even if you're a gangster, he still talks to you as a person.
Yeah, and like you said, he got to know all the people in Texas.
Yeah.
All of the either they were Mexican or all the Latino Americans, whoever they were, he got to know them all by name. He talked with them. He was civil. Like, I just didn't see it.
Yeah. The first part it kills me though. You see, like, I loved when he, like, there were scenes where he really looked like a typical old man. Like when they first came here, he's like, "No one's touching my truck. You're not splitting my truck." Stuff like that. It was just killing me. I love that.
100%. So, what would you change anything about this movie?
What I change?
to make it better? Like, how would you, like you said, you loved Clint Eastwood's character, you liked Earl. What would you change about this movie?
I'd focus more on like. I feel like this is. Focus more on the relationships of the family and build the family's characters a little bit more. Focus on that and not kill the drug lord guy.
Oh, good. But
That's it.
But again, how do you capture him with that drug lord there? I just don't think it's.
You could get
successful.
captured. There's ways. Everybody gets captured one of these days. They find warrants. They find.
All right. Anything else you want to say about the movie?
No, that's it.
Okay, so my question then to you is, what is your rating for this movie?
I give this a 5.
I would give it a 5 as well.
Whoa.
Again, potential, decency, but the third act and the motives, I can't get over some of those things. All right. So we are going to have a new segment for this week, and we're going to try to do this.
Oh my god, a segment. We're a real podcast. We're calling it that now.
We're going to try to do this once a month. Initially, we're going to like just different kind of concept questions that we're going to do. If you have like an idea, like are books better than movies or vice versa? Are sequels ever as good as the original? Things like that. If you ever have an idea that you want to come up with, I've asked some of my colleagues at work and some of my family, and they came up with some suggestions. Some of us came up with some suggestions.
This name of the segment is Thoughts in a Box.
Thoughts in a box. So we have all the suggestions that maybe if you guys want to come and put some comments on what you would like to hear us talk about, we'll put those thoughts in a box, and then we will talk about them. So this week we are going to talk about...
Don't worry, guys. I'm looking.
We gotta find a good one, eh?
Yeah.
Gotta move it around.
You gotta look. What the hell? I can't find anything. What the heck? What are you doing here? What's going on here? Oh. Whoa, I found one. What is better? The hero or the villain? In a superhero movie.
In a superhero movie, huh? I think we're both going to agree upon this one. It's clearly the hero.
No. Villains are better. I always cheer on the villains. You know this.
Xavier.
Villains are the best.
Why? Okay. Why would you say villains are the best? Like, where does your philosophy on this come from?
Because the villains are so much cooler. The hero does the typical, I gotta be good. A lot of the heroes, it's not really realistic how the heroes respond. Like Superman, nobody's like Superman. No one's like Cap.
But here, this is why these heroes are better, because I want you to think of it from this perspective. So think of it like this: in order to be good all of the time, to be on all the time, that's hard to do. It's harder to be the villain. Sorry, it's harder to be the hero because you have to be on all the time. To be a villain, anyone can be a villain. I could just take this easy to be a villain.
Yeah, but no one can be a cool villain. Anyone can be a villain, but not everyone can be a cool villain.
What makes someone a cool villain?
He has to act like a Darth Vader. You know, Darth Vader's pretty cool.
Not a superhero movie. Let's stick with our superhero movies.
Okay, superhero. Let's say... I don't know, a lot of the portrayals of villains in superhero movies are terrible.
Because the heroes are better. There you go. See,
no,
helping my case out already.
No, the heroes aren't better. It's just they don't know how to do a lot of heroes. They don't know how to use the villains properly. But let's say someone like Apocalypse. Apocalypse was not in the movies. He's cool, but he's pretty
Focus
cool.
on the movies. That's what we're talking about here. This is a movie podcast. I don't care about comics.
Let's do the Joker then. Joker from The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Great.
What's cool about the Joker? Why do you like the Joker? What admires you about the Joker?
I just like how he just doesn't. He
breeds chaos.
He likes to show. He likes to show society their failures. I just like how they show the failures of society. How they what they're doing wrong. He likes to prove points, right? And in that movie, the Joker won. Technically, his whole point
absolutely
was
did.
In one bad day, you can turn the most perfect man, i.e., Harvey Dent, the hero of the movie, into a villain.
And Batman is the hero of the movie. Let's get this
Harvey
straight.
Dent was the hero.
Harvey Dent is the societal hero, but Batman is the actual hero. But Batman is a vigilante, so he can't act within the law. And sometimes a hero understands that you have to act outside of the law to help out your people.
Yeah, that's what the CIA says when they do a lot of illegal things. Sick heroes.
Wow. Superheroes here, Xavier. I don't know. I feel that, like, I ask you this question: if we allow ourselves to admire the villain, aren't we just putting society on the path to make that kind of behavior tolerable and acceptable?
That's a good question. That's a good point. I would say no, because it also shows you what not to do and how to be a better person, because you want to be the total opposite.
It's funny that you say that, because I look at some villains in the MCU or even the DCU that I can actually admire. Like, you talk about Thanos. Is he a bad guy?
In his mind, no.
But hold on, though. Like, his idea is he wants to help the world by making a tough decision. That's his decision. Like, that's the villain he is. He's making the tough decision for the world, for the universe, not the world, the entire universe. It's a tough one. He admits it's tough. Do you admire that?
For that one, I like his reasoning.
So you admire that you like his reasoning. So you admire him.
I'd say pretty much yes. I like it.
So then we should all try to strive to be like the villain.
No, we should not.
But you just said you like them.
Why don't you just shut up? But yeah, I see your point. Fair point. It's you want us to all strive like the villain, and if we told ourselves to look to the villain standards, we're all gonna be it's gonna be a mad world. It's gonna be the Wild West.
Exactly. Now, another question for you.
Okay.
Now, you don't have any children right now, but let's say 3-4 years down the road you meet Miss Xavier and you have a child. Do you want your child to be like Captain America or like the Red Skull?
The Red Skull. That's a good question. I probably would want him to be in the middle.
In the middle, you wouldn't want
yin and yang. There's a little bit of evil in everybody, and you just have to balance it.
So you're telling me
you murder on some days, and then
you're telling me that you're okay with your child. You want your child to grow up to be like the Red Skull.
Not like the Red Skull, just parts of him.
What parts of him do you want your child to have?
I want his intelligence.
Can't they take Iron Man's intelligence and integrity? Red Skull doesn't have integrity. Captain America has integrity. More integrity than almost any superhero in any universe.
That's true. I'd want his resolve, his
again,
never give up.
That
never gives up.
That's Captain America. It all in Captain America.
That's still in.
What would you want from Red Skull that Captain America doesn't offer?
That's a good question. I would say.
And I'll take this into a different universe, a universe that you like more. Would you want your kid to grow up like Spider-Man? Or would you want your kid to grow up again like Green Goblin?
Green Goblin? That's a good question. Definitely not Green Goblin because he's a little crazy. What about Dr. Otto Octavius? Nice little young smart man and old smart man.
What qualities that he possesses that Spider-Man doesn't would you want your kid to grow up with?
That's a good question.
You know that I'm right on this. You want your kid to be a good kid. You want your kid to be Spider-Man. You want your kid to be Cap. You want your kid to, when someone's being bullied in a movie theater, even if they're bigger, you want your kid to say no. You gotta stop. And even if it means they take a punch to the face, the fact that they stuck up for something good, for something right, you'd be proud of your child.
It's proud, but it's just so cheesy. That's the problem.
But
I find the villains compliment more, and I like.
Of course they compliment more. They're bad. It's fun to be bad. It's fun to do bad things. It is fun to when you get to act badly. It's fun to do. Like if you've ever been in one of those like anger rooms where you can like break everything.
No, I never.
You take a sledgehammer to something. It feels great. Like I get the villain. Like it totally makes sense. To be a villain is fun. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. But to put it away, to have to say, you know what? You're a bad person, but you're not You're not doing what I'd like. I'm not going to beat you out of it. I'm going to talk to you levelly. I'm going to talk to you with respect. That's harder to do. And that's more admirable. It's more admirable to do the tough thing. Don't you think?
I guess it's more. I'd say more respectable. I don't know about admirable. I respect it, but
You don't admire Captain America? You don't admire Spider-Man?
I admire Spider-Man.
You
not so much
admire
Cap.
the Joker?
I admire the Joker for different reasons.
What do you admire the Joker? How could you admire someone that wants to destroy the city of Gotham just cause for a science experiment?
Because he just decided to do that. That's cool. No one really.
It's cool to destroy a city.
Yeah.
Why?
That's a good question. I would feel that. I'll get back to you on that one. I have to go on a spirit journey and look inside of myself, and then I'll come with the answer for you.
I always look at heroes, and it's impossible to be a hero like Captain America or Superman. Like to be like them, like that, they're perfect. They're too good, and like you said, not possible. But just because something's not possible doesn't mean we shouldn't strive for it. Like you go back in time, like people would have said it's impossible to go to the moon. It was impossible to communicate around the world in a matter of a split second. But you take those impossibilities and you push forward. You try to better yourself, and you improve your science, and you land on the moon in 1969, or you create the cell phone, and now you can talk to FaceTime anyone anywhere in the world in a matter of seconds. That would have been impossible 100 years ago. Like if you went back 1,000 years and talked about some of the things that you do or that you can do, they would tell you that's impossible.
Yeah, but that's technology versus human nature, though.
But you telling me human nature can't change?
Probably not.
Why?
Not in this society.
So then we're all destined to be racist, sexist, monogamous. Not monogamous. Anti-gay people, because that's how it was for thousands of years. We'll never accept people, never promote equality.
I mean, look at the world we live in now, right?
But so you're telling me you can't? But maybe that's the problem. We live in a society that praises the villain, so now, or that respects the villain, so people are taking that and now running with it. You go back, 20, 30 years, and people who were raised in the 90s, I think that the hero and the cheesiness of the hero were at the forefront of culture. And I think people that grew up in the 90s have more of a positive approach to the world. The kids are our future. If we raise them to think that the world can't be saved, or that the villain is right, well, how do you think they're going to move forward?
That's a good question. And on that note, I think we're done here.
You done? You got nothing else to say?
That's a very good point.
I challenge you guys. If where do you stand? Are the villains too good, or are the villains the people we should strive for to be like in our society? Leave us some comments on this topic, and feel free to give us some other topics that you'd like to hear us talk about. Hopefully, you were semi interested in that. I know I was.
Interesting.
All right. Well, we're towards the end of our podcast. Next week on the podcast, I'm very excited for Aquaman and Bumblebee will be the two that we're talking about for sure.
That's a lie. You're not excited. You've been talking crap about those movies for.
You know what? Listen. I have semi hope that Aquaman can write something of the ship for DC. But you're right. I have no hope for Bumblebee. Bumblebee's gonna be trash. It prequels to a timeline that's a disaster to begin with. There's no chance Bumblebee can
Apparently,
help.
this is a hard reboot. So.
Oh, this is a reboot.
Yeah.
Oh God, that could be made. That could make it worse. All right. We'll talk about that next week. And next week, our segment that we're going to try doing is trivia. So I'm going to be asking Xavier some trivia questions because it wouldn't make sense for him to ask me questions because I know everything.
Wait. No. You're not triviaing me, okay? Someone that always says that they're the best at movies and knows everything. You need to prove it.
Oh, I need to prove
world.
it.
Yeah, you got to.
Are you challenging me, Xavier?
I'm challenging you.
Well, okay. All right. I'll
I will
take your
create
challenge.
the questions, and you're gonna answer them. And if you can't answer them, then you're not as smart as you think you are.
How many do I need to get right?
You need to get all of them.
Oh, come on. You could ask me something like,
okay, you get
what was
one
the guy's
wrong.
name from... They got to be fair questions.
It's going to be fair. I'm not going to be like, what was the date of Harry Potter's death or something? I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, it's got to be something from the movie.
Potter's...
Something not too specific.
Yeah.
Like what date that Marty McFly went back to the future. Like 1955 is fine, but the actual date, I think it was October 5th. Don't quote me on that.
What was the color coat Joker was wearing when he said, "You know where I want to know where I got these scars"?
Okay.
I'm not.
All right, you come up with some questions. I'll take your challenge.
Okay,
I'll take your challenge.
Fair enough.
All right. So next week, Xavier will be asking me some questions. I'll leave some time so you guys can play at home too. To
popular music question. Popular
music. Wrong podcast.
I'm sorry, guys.
So hopefully you enjoyed the show and you'll join us next week. Hope you guys all have a great week.
All right. See you guys next week and bye-bye.